Good afternoon. Thank you all for coming to the transportation meeting this afternoon. I would like to remind everyone in the audience that we will be treating each bill with civility, and you will speak to the chair and through the chair in any comments that are made. Any disrespectful behavior, you will be invited to exit the room. I know the House is still in session, but we have a couple of things that are identical that I wanted to, and that are not controversial, that should be easily addressed. HB 1112 by Delegate Wyatt.
We gotta say we're here first.
Oh my God, you're right. Thank you. We need to do the roll.
Yeah. That's all right. You got the congressman here.
Madam Chair, you have a quorum?
I don't know.
He's over there.
And if the clerk might alert.
Madam Chair, you have a quorum?
Thank you. And if you might be willing to reach out to the other members who are not here yet, that'd be great. HB 1112 is by Delegate Wyatt is exactly identical to SB 544, which went through the Senate 40-0. It is dealing with auto recyclers and database search. Just to remind you, we don't need to have any testimony on this. It clarifies the databases to be searched by the Department of Motor Vehicles upon notification by the auto recycler that he possesses a motor vehicle to be demolished, but does not possess the certificate title, salvage certificate, or non-repairable certificate for such motor. It has a delayed effect of July 1st, 2025. And as I mentioned, this went through unanimously when it was.
Move to report.
And a second. And it will be
send it to finance.
And it will be going to finance. If the clerk would call the roll.
Ayes 11, no 0.
Thank you. We're going to pass by 1454 until we get some more members here. The next bill that I would like to address are very similar bills to ours. HB 460 by Delegate Kilgore is substantially similar to Senator Pillion's bill, SB 728, which passed unanimously in the House and the Senate. The House Transportation Bill conformed to the Senate version, so the version this morning should be reported as is. This is the Cumberland Airport Commission bill. It establishes a new charter for the Cumberland Airport Commission and repeals the current charter created in 1958. The proposed charter sets out the organization of the commission and it contains powers and duties typically granted for authorities. It also removes the town of Lebanon and the counties of Lee and Russell from the commission. This version that we are looking at today took out eminent domain authority from the commission. Do I have a motion on the report? Thank you. We have a motion and a second. If the clerk would call the roll.
Ayes 12, no 0.
Thank you. The bill reports 12-0. The next bill that is substantially the same is HB 1224 by Delegate Runyon. It is almost identical to Senator Suderline's SB 151. Both were passed unanimously from the House and the Senate. The House Transportation Committee made a technical amendment to Senator Suderline's bill, SB 151, to match the version that we're looking at right now. So I do not entertain any amendments. This is the motor vehicles, the Department of Motor Vehicles bill that reduces the fee for the issuance of an original, duplicate, reissue, or renewal special identification card without a photo from $10 a year with a $20 minimum fee to a $2 per year with a $10 minimum fee. And this is exactly the way Senator Suderline's bill passed through the House. Do we have a motion?
Move to report.
And it goes to go to finance. Do we have a second? Okay, we have a motion and a second. On HB 1224, the clerk would call the roll.
Ayes 14, no zero.
Thank you. The bill reports 14-0. All righty. Do we? Righty. And the committee will be at ease for a moment while we wait.
The Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, B 306.
Of our members to come back in and waiting for our patrons to come. While we're waiting, there is one more identical bill that we have heard in this committee already. It is HB 1454. It is excuse me?
I don't think you want to do it yet.
We can. I'll step out if we need to.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
If it's going down, I'll step out. So. Never mind. There we go.
Okay.
Ready to go.
Okay, thank you, Senator Rome. HB 1454 is identical to Senator McPike's SB 246. It passed the House and the Senate pretty much on party lines. This is the limited duration driver's license and driver's privilege card permits expiration dates. It extends the validity of the limited duration license, the driver's privilege cards, the permits, and the ID privilege cards as other than real ID credentials and commercial driver's license and permits to a period of a time consistent with the validity of a driver's license, which under current law is a period not to exceed 8 years, or for a person of age 75 or older, a period not to exceed 5 years, and permits and special identification cards. The bill directs the Department of Motor Vehicles to implement and extend the validity period for such documents upon reissue. Do I have a motion and a second? Okay, and a second? Thank you. We have a motion and a second. It will be going to finance. And if the clerk could call the roll.
Ayes 8, no 7.
The bill reports 8-7. Thank you. Okay. Now. All right, I'm going to try to find some other of the bills that I think are not going to be controversial, even though. I'm going to
1538.
1538.
That's a suggestion from Senator.
All righty. HB 1538 by Delegate Kilgore is a conversion of manufactured homes to real property. This establishes a process whereby a manufactured home owner who is not listed as an owner of such a manufactured home on its title may detitle such manufactured home in order to convert to a home to a real property.
So moved.
To report.
Move to report.
Second.
Is there anyone here in favor or in opposition to the bill? Let's let them at least have a minute.
If there's anyone online that would like to speak to this bill, please raise your hand.
Housing Association. We are in support of the bill. There is this body codified in 2014 a process to relinquish title. So that's working for all the new loans that are going through, but those loans that occurred prior to 2014, sometimes transfers happen and the title isn't properly transferred. So this gives DMV an opportunity to work with the consumer to get a proper and clean title and transfer it to real property.
Thank you so much. Any questions from the members? Seeing none, is there anyone here? Excuse me. Senator Williams-Graves.
So if transferring it from a vehicle to real property, does that mean that the owner goes from paying personal property tax to now paying real estate tax?
Madam Chair, yes, that's correct. They pay real property taxes, and then the property can be transferred as real property through a realtor in the future. They can also see appreciation in value that way as well. So it only involve them if they own the property underneath the home and the home as well.
The land and I'm sorry, Madam Chair, follow up. That would be the land and the improvement being the mobile home.
Madam Chair, yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair, thank you.
Thank you. Are there members of the audience here in opposition to this bill? Seeing none, is there a motion?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. If the clerk would open the roll for HB 1538.
Report.
Motion and a second to report.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Thank you. It reports 15-0. Thank you so much. The court will be, the committee will be at ease while we wait for some of our patrons.
The Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, B 306.
In by Delegate Wyatt. This provides that in the context of an automated toll enforcement, the exemption from the definition of owner for vehicle rental or vehicle leasing company applies only if such companies meet existing requirements related to handling toll invoices on rented or leased vehicles. And I would ask if there's anyone in the audience who would like to speak on this.
If there's anyone online that would like to speak to this bill, please raise your hand.
Move to report.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. The clerk would open the rolls.
Ayes 14, no zero. Abstentions 1.
Thank you. Delegate Carr has HB 1084. This is a bill that will have to go to finance, and I think this should be a non-controversial one as well. It deals with disabled parking placards. It extends from 6 months to 12 months the maximum duration for which a DMV may issue a temporary removable windshield placard to a person with a disability that limits or impairs his ability to walk or to create a concern for his safety while walking. The bill is also eliminating the fee for the issuance of a temporary temporary and a permanent disabled parking placard, and it includes technical amendments. Is there anyone who wishes to speak on this?
Madam Chair, members of the committee, I'm Rachel Jones, Deputy Secretary for Transportation. We want to thank the patron for this bill. It's an important bill because it tries to make things a little bit easier when people are going through tough times in life. And they might need to have some temporary disabled placards. The real change here, obviously, there's the fee that's being eliminated that's fairly minor but can be important to some people. But the larger change is right now the maximum duration is 6 months, and this change would allow for doctors to permit up to 12 months, depending upon what the patient needs. That would mean that sometimes individuals would not have to return for an additional doctor's visit and an additional trip to DMV when they're going through a time that's a little bit tougher to get around. So we appreciate the patron offering this and would urge your support as well.
Thank you so much. Are there questions from the committee? All righty. Is there anybody in opposition to this bill? Seeing none. Motion?
Second.
All righty. We have a motion and a second. It has to go to finance? Thank you. If the clerk would open the roll.
Ayes 15, no zero.
All righty, this bill reports 5-0 to 15-0 to go on to finance. Sure. HB 1254 also will have to be re-referred to finance. The patron is Delegate Runyon, deals with bridges in the state of good repair and the allocation of funds. It designates that bridges with a general condition rating defined in the bill of no more than 5 and at least one major bridge component is eligible for state of good repair funds. Currently, bridges must be structurally deficient to be eligible. The bill authorizes the use of good state of repair funds for improvements anticipated to extend the useful life of the bridge by at least 10 years. The bill applies to a new project allocations that are made by the Commonwealth's Transportation Board after June 1st, 2025. Do we have any questions? Is there anyone here in support? Yes.
Madam Chair, Joanne Maxwell from VDOT. This is a VDOT bill, and we strongly support the bill.
Thank you.
Madam Chair and members of the committee, I'm Ron Jenkins. I'm with Virginia Loggers Association, and we support HB 1254. We think it's a great bill. Here are some things that I'd like to point out. First off, we are part of one of the largest industries in Virginia, and I say that not to impress you, only because what's associated with that number is a lot of commercial trucks that are hauling our raw materials from our forests out to the points of first processing. And that's going on all the day. I've never made a count, but in some places of Virginia, my guess is there must be thousands of log and chip trucks on the road every day. They depend upon these bridges and the infrastructure of our highways to make sure for livelihood, but more importantly for safety. And that is what's so important. So when a bridge is cited as deficient, they are posted, the weight is reduced. The overweight permit that the owners have purchased is no longer effective, but they can't afford necessarily to reduce that weight and to stay in business. So they find alternate routes. The alternate routes are often not as safe, add much more risk. And so therefore, we support this and hope that it will indeed help some of our rural bridges as well as our urban bridges too. So we support it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comments. This is in really good shape, so I don't think you're going to have to convince us, but please introduce yourself.
Madam Chair, I'll be uncharacteristically brief. Corey Connors, Virginia Forestry Association. We support the bill.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, Brad Copenhaver, on behalf of Virginia Agribusiness Council, we support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, Jake Taylor, Virginia Farm Bureau, we support.
Thank you so much. Are there members of the audience who oppose this bill? Seeing none, do I have a motion?
So moved.
All righty, we have a motion and a second to report and re-refer to finance. If the clerk would open the roll.
24 should be the same.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Right, the bill reports 15-0. 1224. What is that? Okay. HB 1362 by Delegate Maldonado deals with school bus video monitoring systems. It prohibits a contract between a private vendor and a school division for the operation of a school bus video monitor system to capture passing stop school bus violations from requiring a minimum quota of violations captured or citations issued for the video monitoring system to be deployed. Is there anyone here in the audience who would like to support the bill? Do we have questions? Senator Suderline, did you have a question?
No, I support the motion to report. I just want to say Delegate Maldonado brought us the best bill ever dealing with any of these video monitor systems, because most of all the others are terrible. And I thank her for bringing us this.
Well noted. Well noted, Senator. So we have a motion and a second. This does not need to go to Finance. If the clerk would open the roll.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Is 1224?
These are all no. These were all unanimous. So.
Yep. Okay.
Let's go ahead with HB 143. This is by Delegate Reed. It was also unanimous in the House. This is dealing with utility work databases, and it requires the Department of Transportation to establish and maintain a publicly accessible database and map of all the utility work that has been approved by the department and will occur within the highway right-of-way in a residential neighborhood. I think it is a good one. This bill has a delayed effective date as of January 1st, 2025. Are there people in the audience who wish to support the bill? If you would.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Pardon me, Madam Chair, committee member Scott McGarry for Washington Gas. We support this bill very strongly. It arose out of concerns that were brought to Delegate Reed's attention by some homeowner associations, and he amended the bill to make certain that critical infrastructure, as defined under federal law, those facilities are protected. And so we hope very much it'll be a pleasure to report the bill. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone in opposition to this bill? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
Move to report. Good transportation.
All righty, we have a motion and a second. This does not need to go to Finance. If the clerk would open the roll.
Congressman?
Ayes 15, no zero.
The bill reports 15-0. We are on a roll here with Delegate Reed's bill, HB 144. This is about a change in speed limits. It requires the Department of Transportation, if the Commissioner of the Highway increases or decreases a speed limit, to notify the primary liaison within the department in each locality within which such speed limit change will occur. The bill also requires the locality to notify the governing body of any property owners association or condominium association if any speed limit will occur in the community subject to such association. Is there anyone here to speak on the bill? Okay, it seems pretty innocuous to me and like a good idea.
Move to report.
All righty, we have a motion and a second to report the bill. The clerk would call the roll.
Ayes 15, no zero.
All righty. I know we had another identical bill that was contested, but since they've already had a testimony on it, I will just point out that it will have to go to Finance, and it went down on a party line vote. No, hold on a second. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one. My apology. I was looking at something that we've already done.
You do 425.
425 by Delegate Green. Yep, just a second. Delegate Green brought us 425, HB 425. It deals with the Department of Motor Vehicle releasing privileged information. It permits the Department of Motor Vehicles to release to a party that is subject to an administrative proceeding that is conducted by the department non-medical privileged information necessary to participate in such administrative proceedings. The bill limits such information to matters of fact and law asserted or questioned by the department and prohibits the dissemination of such information to any third party that is not a party to the administrative proceeding. I would ask if anybody from either the DMV, yes, Linda, if you'd like to come up and talk to us about this.
Good afternoon, Madam Chairman, members of the committee. This is an agency bill, and the crux of the matter is that a few years ago, our privacy statutes, 46.2208, there were a number of changes to them, and frankly, we didn't recognize at that time that one of the things that we needed an exception for was to provide information during hearings, administrative hearings, that are conducted by DMV staff. And that's basically a due process issue, that we need them to be able to provide the evidence that we have against them and that they have an ability to defend themselves. And so this provides that exception.
Thank you very much. Senator Hashmi.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a quick question. The changes in this part of the code indicate that the department may provide non-medical privileged information that's necessary. Can you just provide some example of a non-medical privileged information?
Yeah, it could be a customer name, an address, for example, their vehicle information. So that would be an example. And this information, again, the language, we worked on it on the other house, and we tightened it to ensure that it cannot be re-released outside of the hearing to the parties to the hearing.
Mm-hmm. So I remember a few years ago, Delegate Tran and I and Senator Surville worked together on tightening the privacy concerns. So this was really just something that got overseen. And
exactly. And
it does no harm to that, though.
It does not. It does no harm to that. And again, this is just, we talked with our AG's representative and realized that this needed to be remedied in order to provide due process for customers.
Thank you. Are there members of the audience in support of the bill? Are there members of the audience in opposition to the bill?
Move to report.
All righty. We have a motion and a second. This does not have to go to the upstairs. So this is, if you would open the roll.
Ayes 15, no zero.
The bill passes 15-0. Yes, Senator Bagby.
Is there any opposition to 1073?
There was none in the House.
Isn't this Stanley's bill?
It is a version of Stanley's bill,
Should we just
but it's a little bit different. It was Senator Stanley's bill. Are they? They do address different. They're slightly different, but they can go in tandem together.
Madam Chair.
Mm-hmm.
Question, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, would council? Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, would council be able to explain the differences between this bill and the bill proposed from the senator from Franklin?
Madam Chair, the two bills address slightly different types of solicitation. So I believe Senator Stanley's bill had addressed if any person causes any person to solicit towing services. However, this bill prohibits tow truck drivers specifically from driving by the scene of a wrecked or disabled vehicle in which case a law enforcement tow has already been requested. So they are slightly different in the situations that would trigger each bill to work. And the enforcement mechanisms are also different. In this bill, it is generally under the prohibited acts, whereas in Senator Stanley's bill, it created a misdemeanor.
Thank you. Senator Rome and then Senator Bagby.
Madam Chair, follow-up question for council is, would passing this bill as it is right now put it in conflict with the other bill, or would it be recommendation of council to conform this bill to the other one?
Madam Chair, Senator Rome, they would not be in conflict. Whether or not to conform would be to the policy decision for the committee.
Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Bagby, you had a question?
Yes. Madam Chair, I didn't hear that answer. So they can both pass? They can.
Senator Bagby, they're not in conflict, so they could both pass.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, a question for you, Madam Chair. Is there anyone here that can help us out in the audience?
Is there anyone who could speak?
We got some.
There are a lot of people who are ready to speak on this.
I'm happy to yield to the state, please.
Colonel Maxey, love to get your professional.
Is it colonel or general now?
I'm sorry.
Madam Chair, it keeps changing. Major Ron Max.
Major.
State Police. That's wrong. Madam Chair, I'm happy to answer any questions. Delegate Carr did work with us in the concerns we're taking care of. Some of the earlier concerns were that the tow company may not be able to assist somebody if they observe them broken down without getting themselves in trouble. This would allow it to only apply to police tows that have already been initiated, where the police officers pulled up, called a tow truck, maybe left the scene. It would prevent another tow company from coming and taking that vehicle.
Madam Chair?
Who's asking? Oh, Senator Marsden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It occurs to me that, in certain accidents on an interstate highway, if somebody came along and traffic was backing up and you were in a situation as a trooper to either get traffic moving or wait for the pre-selected tow truck operator to arrive, or maybe another 5 or 10 minutes, and you could get traffic moving more quickly with the individual who showed up. Would that not be an option here, the way these two bills are drafted?
Right. Madam Chair, Senator Marsden, this was addressing that concern. We do want the first tow get the road clear as quick as possible, as well as to offer assistance. This would be a situation where if particularly maybe a local police department pulls up, checks on a vehicle, initiates a tow, calls them to come and pick the vehicle up, they get dispatched to another call and they leave. This would prevent another vehicle from coming in taking that vehiple basically from underneath the police tow that had been requested.
Okay. Madam Chair, just a quick follow-up.
Senator Marsden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Understand I ran a similar bill a few years back where people were getting on the radio and they would hear something called in and they'd say, well, I'm real close by. I'll go in and kind of cut in line and do that. So this would control that in some circumstances, but maybe not in others. Is that?
Madam Chair, correct. And I'm familiar with that bill. And it does come down to being able to prove this, but this would be a situation where law enforcement had pulled up, spoken with the owner, either an owner's request or off of his own record list that the law enforcement agency called the record from. Once that is initiated, that would prevent another tow company from pulling up after maybe the police officer had left the scene and soliciting that tow out from underneath of the company that was already responding.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator Williams Graves.
Madam Chair, question for the patron.
Senator, go on.
Thank you. So would you say that this bill would also protect the integrity of contracts that towing companies have with localities and keeps those bad actors from circumventing the tow in a situation like you described?
And Madam Chair, Senator Williams Graves, this would only apply, and I'm familiar, some of the localities, and Richmond in particular, does have contracts with a particular tow company. It would, if they come and request that tow company to come, it would be the same as if it did not have a contract. Regardless of who is requested, someone else could not come in, another tow company could not come in and jump in line and take that vehicle once the law enforcement officer was gone. And it does seem, from speaking with the patron, that is the problem that's trying to be addressed that some of the localities are experiencing. With limited manpower, they show up to the scene, they call a wrecker, they leave, and then they get a call back from the tow company and they're like, where's the vehicle? It's no longer here. And it's because another wrecker heard it possibly on the radio, as Senator Marsden said, ran out there real quick and removed that vehicle before the original one that was requested arrived.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there other members who have questions? All righty.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there members of the audience in support of the bill? And I would just like to reiterate, because the room was not filled when we started this, that all of the comment needs to go through the chair. Everyone needs to maintain courteous behavior, and if there is not courteous behavior, you will be asked to leave. So just want to make it very clear. And yeah, we'll have a 2-minute timer for each side for this
Madam
one.
Chair, Matt Betke with the Northern Virginia and Richmond Towers Association. This is a very good bill. It protects contracts, and it also, for us, it's about safety. When you have multiple towers trying to fight over someone's car, they're all on the side of the road, and you don't want that. So this protects the safety as well as the contracts. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Bika. Next, if you all would come on closer so that we can get you to speak.
Madam Chair, my name's George Mahone, and I own and operate Skimino Enterprises Towing in Williamsburg, Virginia. I am also president of the Hampton Roads Towing Alliance, and I am also the legislative chair for the Virginia Association for Towing and Recovery Operators, and we strongly support this bill and would appreciate it if you all would too. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Madam Chair, my name is Melvin Lawson. I'm the president of Cyberts Towing here in Richmond. I believe I'm run the towing company that the trooper was speaking of, and we strongly support this bill. It is designed to protect our citizens and others from predatory towing in their area.
Thank you so much. Are there people in opposition to this bill? Seeing none, is there a motion?
Move to report.
All righty, we have a motion and number of seconds. If the clerk would open the roll.
We'll try this.
Ayes 15, no zero.
All righty, this bill reports 15-0. And I think we're just down to the bills that have some, probably the patrons are going to want to be here. So I'd ask that we, 1419? Okay. I'm hearing that 1419 should be something that we can all do. Delegate Kilgore, it's 1419, electronic sales by dealers and titling. This authorizes certain motor vehicle dealers to choose to sell a motor vehicle electronically by obtaining a title in the dealer's name for resale. This bill has a contingent effective date of the earlier July 1st, 2025, or receipt of proper notification that a secure power of attorney prescribed by federal law and in a form approved by the Department of Motor Vehicles is available to the motor vehicle dealers to be electronically signed by a purchaser. Is there anyone here to speak on the bill?
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Heidi Hertz with Cozen O'Connor representing Carvana. Appreciate the discussions with the DMV. This is one more step closer to modernization for the car buying experience. I think what we've set up is really the next tool that we need to move forward. The DMV has been wonderful to work with, and this is a program that they feel like they can stand up at this point.
Thank you so much. Are there other people in the audience who wish to speak on this bill? All righty.
Move to report.
All righty, we have a motion and a second. If the clerk would open the roll.
Ayes 15, no zero.
Thank you. The bill reports 15-0. I have gotten a message from some members in the House that think that they might have another 20 to 25 minutes on the House floor. I do not want to move forward with the rest of these bills without the patrons here. So I'd ask that we stand at ease for the next 20 minutes and see how we are. So the time is 3 o'clock, so we'll be back at 3:20.
The Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, B 306. This is the Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, B 306. This is the Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, B 306. This is the Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, B306. This is the Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, B306. This is the Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, B306. This is the Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, B306. This is the Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, B 306. This is the Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, B 306. This is the Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, B 306. This is the Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, B306. This is the Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, B306. This is the Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, B306. This is the Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, B306. This is the Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, B 306. This is the Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, B 306. This is the Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, B 306. This is the Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, B 306. This is the Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, B 306. This is the Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, B 306. This is the Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, B 306. This is the Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, B306. This is the Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, B306. This is the Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, B306. This is the Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, B306. This is the Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, B306. This is the Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, B306. This is the Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, B306. This is the Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, B 306. This is the Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, B 306. This is the Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia. Senate Committee Room, B 3.
All righty, we are ready to recommence the meeting. Do we need to do any sort of? Okay, we will gavel back in. All righty, Delegate Lopez has HB 959. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. This is a bill we've been working on for several years now. We just were able to pass it 98-2 out of the House. This is basically about uniformity, level playing field, and local options. One issue seems to unite both Republicans and Democrats in my community, cross party lines, the intense level of frustration about predatory towing. Here's the thing. One entity has spent decades basically gutting the Virginia Code in order to set up ostensibly a legal predatory towing system just in Northern Virginia, and now increasingly Fredericksburg and Stafford. As it stands today, if your car is the victim of an unlawful predatory towing practice, if it has towed with your pet inside, if your baby was inside, if it's a police car or a Meals on Wheels van, the victim can't sue for damages. The only person that can sue for damage, and each of those examples I gave you have happened in the last year. The only person that can sue for damages and seek restitution, injunctive relief, attorney's fees, is the Attorney General of Virginia. Not the individual, not the Commonwealth's attorney, it's the Attorney General of Virginia in Planning District 8. Individual victims are not allowed to sue. Also under the code, the AG is only able to seek civil penalties of up to $150 per violation. That is less than the cost paid by the victim, which is $180. And the victim of the unlawful tow can't collect the recovered penalty. The victim never gets paid. It goes to the Literary Fund of Virginia. So we have a complete disincentive to sue and basically impunity for towers in Planning District 8, Northern Virginia, and increasingly Planning District 16. So let's get this straight. Northern Virginia and Fredericksburg and Stafford area are explicitly prevented in code from having towing ordinances that are normal practices in the rest of the Commonwealth. Even though areas other than the Commonwealth already do it, Fredericksburg, Stafford area, and Northern Virginia localities can't require towers during normal business hours to get a signature from the owner of the parking lot or business approving them to tow a vehicle. The bill takes, and in Hampton Roads, for instance, not only do the towers comply with this so-called second signature, local ordinance, with no major issues, but it's become common practice to get the second signature even outside of normal business hours to ensure everything is done properly, efficiently, and the affected businesses are informed and engaged. In Northern Virginia, we also face issues with the practice of spotting that enabled these smash and grab predatory towing practices. Bad actors pay individuals to monitor lots, often ones that have unclear signage or are shared jointly among multiple businesses, and immediately summon the trucks to tow vehicles that fail to park in the correct spot. This bill takes these three issues, nominal penalties that do not deter bad actors, second signatures allowed in the rest of Virginia, but barred in Northern Virginia, and spotting head on. In consultation with some towers and advocates across the state and nationally, we've done three things with this bill, and just three things. We remove the carve-out that prevents Fredericksburg, Stafford, and Northern Virginia from requiring towers during normal business hours to get a signature from the owner of the lot or their representative prior to the towing of an individual car. So this is a local option, if they so choose, by ordinance. Also, we allow Northern Virginia localities to regulate monitoring practices by local option, by local ordinance, if they so choose. And finally, the bill increases the penalty that the Attorney General can collect for violations up to 10 times the amount charged for the tow, and allow any money collected to go to the actual victim of the unlawful tow, and not the Literary Fund of Virginia. We believe this provides sufficient penalty to deter bad actors. These changes are relatively small, but we believe that normalizing penalties for violations by bad actors and finally giving localities in Northern Virginia and Fredericksburg and Stafford the same optional powers localities have in other parts of the Commonwealth will be a critical step towards reestablishing a well-functioning trespass towing system where valid complaints are rare. This is, as I said before, Madam Chair, about uniformity and making sure we have a level playing field and making sure, ma'am, that we have a local option. We're not requiring everybody to do anything. This is about local options for localities. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Delegate. Senator Hackworth, did you have a comment or a question?
Yes. Thank you, Madam Chair. A question for the patron. So when you say that you have to have a signature, could this be something that is sent if the owner is not there, like maybe a DocuSign or something to where that they had that on file, they could send that if maybe the owner or somebody that wasn't there?
The manager on duty?
Yes.
Madam Chair, I'd answer the senator that, yes, you could set up that position, but it would be up to the locality's decision. It would be to the option of the locality to create that process if they so chose.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Delegate Lopez, did you bring anyone here in support of your bill?
Yes, I did.
All righty, if you'd like to bring them up, and if you just get close by. I'm just going to repeat, and I've said this already, that all discussion needs to go through the chair. We will have 3 minutes per side. You address the chair, and there is no talking beyond what the policy is. If there is a problem, the person will be dismissed. Thank you. If you'd introduce yourself, and we'll have 3 minutes per side.
Madam Chair, excuse me, Eric Fly with laryngitis, I apologize, with the Hampton Roads Towing Association. We support this bill. The Hampton Roads area, we make the second signature work in Virginia Beach. Towing is a very local issue, and it needs to be overseen by local officials. This bill simply reenacts, gives the right and the authority of the Northern Virginia counties and cities in Planning Zone 8 and 16, the authority that the rest of the Commonwealth has to produce an ordinance that they want, and it's strictly what they want. It's strictly a local option, and we support the bill.
Next speaker.
My name is George Mahone. I own Skimino Enterprises Towing, Williamsburg, Virginia, also president of Hampton Roads Towing Alliance, and we support this bill.
Thank you so much. Next speaker.
Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee, Alana Crennan with Arlington County, and for reasons already stated, we support the bill. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, Noel Dominguez with Fairfax County, and we also support the bill. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. All righty. If there are members of the audience in opposition to the bill, if we'd start we have a total of 3 minutes. And again, we expect
Madam
courteous
Chair, Matt
behavior.
Beckett with the Northern Virginia Towing Association and the Richmond Towing Association. We oppose the bill, but I would encourage you to, well, let me first by saying that statistics in Northern Virginia show that there is no problem with towing in Northern Virginia. Arlington County, I FOIA'd right before session. They had 90,000 tows over 5 years. There were 220 complaints, and there were only 20 found to be valid. The last thing I would just say is if you do all decide to pass the bill, the second signature is something we could potentially live with, but the monitoring of the lots is something that is not done, at least I'm not aware it's done anywhere in the country. And the fee at 10 times is extremely high. So
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator Suderline, did you have a question for Mr. Benko, or was it for?
I think it's a question for Delegate Lopez.
Okay, let's let the rest of the people speak, and then you can ask your question. Thank you. Next person.
Madam Chair, my name is Ashley Miller with Dominion Towing. We oppose the bill also for the reasons that Mr. Benko mentioned, but also the 10 times the fee is, like he said, excessive, and it's also, the bill is supposed to be leveling the playing field, but that particular part of the bill is only applied to Planning District 8, so that doesn't seem very level to me.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Madam Chair, Heather Ferguson, Dominion Towing. I also oppose the bill. We sit on the board at Fairfax County and Alexandria City Towing Boards, and we are not aware of any issues like this. And if there are issues, maybe they should be handled at the local level, not through the whole state and affect all towers in the state. And in Fairfax County, I think there were like 60,000 tows last year and 40 complaints. Not valid, just a total of 40 complaints for the whole Fairfax County.
Thank you. This is a local option bill to.
Madam Chair, my name is Michael Fernandez. I'm a longtime Virginia resident and a business owner in Virginia for over 30 years. I oppose these bills. I do want to comment on Delegate Lopez's comment of the victim, quote unquote, has no ability to sue anybody. Last time I knew, we live in the United States of America. Anybody can sue anybody. So for that comment, it's incorrect. But also, this association over here supporting this bill, keep in mind that association in that area gets way more money than we do. This bill does not work for Northern Virginia in the immediate area down there. Think about if your grandmother or your mother lives in a townhouse community and someone's parked in her parking space and now has to come out in the middle of the night and sign a tow ticket to have this vehicle towed. It leaves her subject to unsafe environment, basically. So thank you, Madam Chair. And like I said, I oppose this bill.
Thank you. We only have 10 seconds left. There are other members who have to get to other committees, so we're kind of getting on a tight frame here.
Madam Chair, members of this committee, my name is Michael Croak. I'm the owner of Shanks Towing South of Richmond, Virginia, and we oppose this bill.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And if you come on up closer, we really are running out of time. Thank you very much.
Madam Chair and Committee, my name is Tim Stigland with Henry's Wrecker Service, and we oppose this bill.
Thank you so much.
Especially for the safety issue.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, my name's Al Leach. We opposed the bill. Long story short, I sat on Fairfax County.
Sir, I thank you. We understand we're slow on time. I just wanted you to say your name and your opposition.
Yeah, Madam Chair, Bisma Ahmed with the Apartment and Office Building Association and the Virginia Apartment Management Association. We typically don't concern ourselves with towing issues, but it's a safety. But thank you.
Thank you. So you're an
Thank you,
opposition.
Madam Chair. John Musil, Arlington Chamber of Commerce, and we oppose this bill.
Thank you so much. So Senator Suderline had a question or a comment. Senator Suderline.
Thanks, Madam Chair. For Delegate Lopez, I'd like if you could, I know it's a very short part of the bill, but just so I have a better idea of what you're envisioning about the regulation of the monitoring practices.
So right now, in most of Planning District 8, you have smash and grab techniques, which are basically part of the business practice. And what they're able to do is they pay monitors or spotters, which is what they call them, to just travel around, go to high trafficked areas, parking areas, places where there's, poor signage, and call in when something needs to be towed. And so they're able to get towing done in 3, 4, 5 minutes because of these practices. We're just asking for the same rights that every other locality has in terms of doing this all at the local level and not having to keep coming back to Richmond to deal with this year in and year out because of the same issues all the time. And so when I gave you examples at the very beginning about pets being towed, twin babies being towed, just back in September of last year in front of Pentagon City Mall, and the Washington Post had a field day with that one. Police cruisers, Meals on Wheels vans. One entity has ostensibly created a legalized predatory towing system in Northern Virginia. This bill does the bare minimum to address that issue, and that's the facts.
Thank you so much. Williams-Graves.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Do you have a question?
Can I call you Madam President? Yes, I do, for the patron. So are you saying that in Norfolk, I can set, or my city can set these rates, and the only place that cannot do it in the Commonwealth of Virginia is Planning District?
Planning District 8, which is Northern Virginia. Yes,
So-
Madam Chair.
Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And I would piggyback on that as well, Madam Chair, to say that what has been created in the Virginia Code over the last several years, and just to quibble with a comment that was made, is that no, an individual, if they are wronged, may not sue the predatory tower. The Commonwealth's attorney may not sue. The only individual that may sue is the Attorney General of Virginia, and it's absurd.
Thank you. Senator Sturdivant, question for the patron or comment?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, question for Delegate Lopez. So if a point was made by one of the speakers about level on the playing field, and so if we are taking out the lines 31 to 33 about Planning District 8 and Planning District 16, should we also take out the addition about a local ordinance regulating the monitoring practices a little bit farther down? In other words, if we're being consistent in treating every planning district the same,
Madam Chair, I'd ask what line he's referring to, the senator's referring to.
Madam Chair, so the lines I'm looking at is an addition to lines 33 through 36.
And I don't, Madam Chair, I'd respond to the senator that I understand what he's trying to say, but the next lines in 34 and 35 effectively allow localities to address that issue if they so wish through local ordinance.
So if you don't perceive this as a friendly amendment, you could let us know whether or not you think that is something that would be acceptable.
Madam Chair, I don't believe it's actually necessary because that line 34 and 35 actually addresses if the locality chooses to go down that road, then they may.
They have the ability to
They have
take
the
care of
ability
that.
to do it.
Okay, thank
Once
you for the
again, Madam Chair,
clarification.
this is a local option bill that we're simply trying to get an even playing field.
Thank you very much. Senator Rome, you're next, and then Senator Williams-Graves.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Speaking to the bill.
Go ahead, Senator Rome.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair. First, thank you to everyone who came in, including at least one of my constituents who's here. I'm really glad you all stopped in to talk to me earlier. One thing that when I had asked questions about this, prior to meeting here, is I asked specifically about the difference between Prince William County versus Virginia Beach, given that our populations are the same, and yet this is governing differently. And the overarching theme that I'm still basically is kind of driving where my point of view right now is that even though Arlington is the main area of concern that is being talked about constantly, my job is to represent Western Prince William, Manassas, and Manassas Park. And I do not think that Planning District 8, in this case, because it does include that, we should be treating Greater Manassas and Western Prince William County differently than we treat a similarly sized city like Virginia Beach. And so my support for the bill today is going to be predicated on the idea that we shouldn't have a balkanization of towing practices in the way that we regulate it. We should have uniformity in that regard. That said, I do actually have an area of agreement regarding lines 33 and 34 about why existing code, and this is not part of what the delegates put forward, I do wonder why we need on 33 and 34 to isolate Planning District 8 and 16, because it seems to me that should just be either a Commonwealth-wide strategy that we implement, or it shouldn't be there at all. And beyond that, I don't, we have a couple other parts here about Planning District 8. I think there's a lot of Christmas tree that still needs to be cut down in this bill, or in this section of code, not with the bill. And hopefully in the next year, maybe with the patron, maybe with anyone else, we can get this resolved so we don't have to keep doing this over and over and over again. I think agree or disagree on the bill, everyone's tired of dealing with this.
Thank you, Delegate. Senator Williams-Graves.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just have one question with regard to lines 57 and 58. I'm just wondering if those lines are, because they reference Planning District 8 and we're trying to incorporate Planning District 8 into the rest of the Commonwealth, is that an oversight, or are they is it necessary for that to still be there, or should it be also stricken?
Delegate
Madam
Lopez.
Chair, I'd say to the senator that we only wanted to address these three top issues and not get too far in the weeds. And so I think if we just address these three simple issues, we can take care of the vast majority of predatory towing problems in Northern Virginia in Planning District 8. So, we chose wisely. We worked with folks like Eric Fly from Hampton Roads and Virginia Beach to sort of address a lot of these issues, some folks at the national level as well. And this is where we decided to go, and that's why we didn't make that change.
Okay, thank you so much. Is there a motion on the bill? Okay, we have a motion and a second. This will go to be re-referred to Finance. If the clerk would open the rolls.
May I ask why it's going to Finance? It wasn't.
Ayes 12, noes 2, abstentions 1.
Understood.
Delegate Lopez, your bill is re-referring to Finance 12-2 with one abstention because Madam Chair asked for it.
Understood.
Thank you very much.
I understand that now. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it, Madam.
Thank you. Delegate Shin, followed by Delegate McClure.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members. I have House Bill 925 before you, and I believe there have been some amendments that have been made. So I'm not sure if it's amendments or a substitute. Amendments, great. Thank you, Council.
If Council could read the amendments.
Madam Chair, would you prefer that I explain the amendments, or do you want to move on them?
We need to move them first if we have a motion. All righty, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All righty. If the clerk would read
Thank you,
if
Madam
you all would
Chair.
read the amendments.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Do you want me to do it, or do you want Council to do it?
If you would like to do it, please go
Sure.
ahead.
I think I'll explain the entirety of the bill. This is my first time venturing into towing land, and I've learned this year that there are very few more partisan things than towing and the canopy of trees in localities, it turns out. And so House Bill 925 is actually originated because of a story that came out of our district, Senator Boysko, Madam Chair, that we had the town of Herndon. A tenant had an issue this past summer where he didn't realize his tags, his stickers on his driver's license, or his car tags had expired, and he didn't realize that, and he didn't learn that until he woke up, was on his way to work, went to his car, and found that his car had been towed. And so this bill just seeks to address that there is a notification period for which the resident or the vehicle owner or driver is notified that their vehicle has an expired tag or an expired inspection sticker, and before the car is towed, they just have to give 48-hour notice. The amendment is actually just saying that the towers are the ones who are responsible for the notification, because in the introduced version, the responsibility of the notification went on both the towing company, as well as the landlord, because we were looking at townhomes and apartment buildings, and now it's just on the towing companies, and I believe that that has brought most of our neutral parties on board to support the bill.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there questions or anyone here in support of your bill? Oh, Williams Graves, Senator Williams Graves.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have often been a victim of someone who has forgotten that their tags were overdue, but the nifty people at the DMV have started emailing and sending notifications, and so I'm not really sure why, and I mean your bill no harm, but I'm not really sure why after 2 or 3 mail pieces and an email from the DMV, why the towing company should be required to notify a car owner that their car is going to be towed because their tags are expired. I just don't understand that part.
Madam Chair, I would say that this is a part that we went back and forth on and figuring out who is the onus on for presenting that notification. So like I said, we first started off with saying the landlord would have to say, hey, your car is expired, we're going to boot it out of here because it can't be on our lot. And while distributing that onus and responsibility to 2 parties, again, this amendment narrows it to the towers. The reason that this was a problem, it actually came up a handful of times this summer from a number of constituents. One constituent was truly they forgot that they had not renewed their tags or the registration, but the second one was their tags were en route to them by mail, the stickers, and they had not gotten the stickers yet. And so in that time period, they were taken off the lot with no course or recourse to be able to say, hey, my stickers are on their way, or to be able to say, like, I'm going to move it onto the street for now. Because even at this point in Virginia, an expired sticker is not a primary reason for being pulled over by law enforcement. So it seems kind of wild that a person just come in there and take the car.
Thank you. Senator Suderline, followed by Senator Diggs. Senator Suderline, you have a question?
Yes.
All righty.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, so one, you don't get an email or any sort of letter when your inspection's about to expire. And I didn't like a lot of Governor Northam's ideas, but his best one that sadly the Democratic Party did not support, but Delegate McNamara and I did, was getting rid of those inspections. And under current law, you now have 2 months after an inspection expires. And so my question is, for people that I imagine are going to come speak, are they actually towing on expired inspections? And that's what I want to hear.
Delegate Shem or Mr. Binka?
I believe that they are.
Thank you, Delegate. Matt Benka with Northern Virginia Richmond Towers Association. We do. Currently, right now, it's in your contract. So when you sign a lease, it's in your contract that says we can tow you if your registration or your inspection sticker isn't valid. So there's already that notice. But we do support this bill. And this is what happens when a member works with the industry. We came to a good compromise, I think, with the amendments. So
Thank you, Mr. Vice.
yeah, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Senator Diggs, do you have a question?
More of a comment, Madam Chair. I just find it unbelievable that, and I'm reinforcing Senator Suderline's point, that you can ride around this state with your expired inspection stickers for 4 months, actually, but yet you can't park your car overnight in the place where you live without it being subject to tow. So I think this is an outstanding bill.
Thank you very much. So is there anyone here in opposition? Did we do support?
Didn't do in support.
Do anyone here in support of the bill first?
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Bisma Ahmed with the Apartment and Office Building Association, the Virginia Apartment Management Association. We appreciate the delegate for working with us, and we support the bill.
Thank you. Anyone in opposition to the bill? Hearing none, is there a motion?
Move to report, Madam Chair, as amended.
Is there a second? Second. All righty, we have a motion and a second. If you'd call the roll.
Madam Chair, before we vote, I have a clarifying question.
If we could strike the roll. Senator Suderline.
Thank you,
Sorry, I
Madam
didn't
Chair.
see you.
Madam Chair, with the line amendments, I'm just trying to make sure I follow. That's why I like substitutes better than line amendments. But the landlord or the towing company, who's actually doing the reporting now?
The notification now is on the towing company. Per the amendment, previously it was on both. It was the towing company as well as the landlord that would have to submit or transmit notification. And the amendment brings it just on the towers.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Yes, Senator Suderline, if you're looking at the amendment, it says strike and the landlord shall transmit the copy of the written resident notice to the resident. Yep. All righty. So we had a motion, a second. We were in the middle of a vote. If we'd like to resume that.
Ayes 14, no 0, abstentions 1.
Delegate Shin, your bill passes 14-0 with 1 abstention. Thank you so much.
Thank you for restoring my faith in towing not being quite as partisan as I had worried it was.
Thank you. If Delegate McClure would like to join us, this is the last of the towing bills of the day. Delegate McClure, tell us about 1287, please. And this bill will have to go to Finance.
Yes, Madam Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Across Virginia, localities currently have authority to permit towers who both tow and store in their locality, except in Planning District 8. HB 1287 is a technical fix to bring authority back to the Planning District 8, which encompasses localities in Northern Virginia. The goal of this bill is to clear up confusion and ensure that every locality in the state can permit towers in the same way so that all towers are following the same rules. This bill does not alter the permitting abilities of any localities outside of Planning District 8. Madam Chair, members of the committee, it is my hope that you will vote favorably in support of HB 1287.
Thank you very much, Delegate McClure. Did you bring anyone with you who is in support of this bill?
I did.
All righty, please bring them forward. 3 minutes. We'll give each side 3 minutes again and please introduce yourself.
Yes, good afternoon, Madam Chair. My name is Min Chao Kaur. I'm the County Attorney for Arlington County. I'm here to support this bill and to explain that this is a very technical amendment in order to give Planning District 8 the same powers as the rest of the Commonwealth and to restore authority that I think was inadvertently taken away. If you look at the current law in subsection D, it goes into excruciating detail on what authority Planning District 8 has to regulate towing companies that tow vehicles from the county to outside. That's because this was a codification of a Supreme Court case in 2010. The problem is, under the rules of statutory construction, the specific overweighs the general. So by making this Section D, by being so specific and giving Planning District 8 additional authority, it unfortunately creates ambiguity and gives rise to the argument that that's the only authority Planning District 8 has. It does not have the general authority that the rest of the Commonwealth has. We don't believe that was the intention, and the language that we are proposing is to fix that. As you can see, the new language doesn't give any new authority. It just says nothing in this subsection shall restrict or modify Planning District 8's authority. So we ask that you support the bill. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have a minute and 35 seconds left. If you would try to keep your remarks tight.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, my name is Corporal James Toomey with the Arlington County Police Department. I currently handle all the tow complaints for Arlington County. I'm also a member of the Trespass Towing Advisory Board. I am supportive of this bill, and should this bill pass, Any ordinance changes that would occur from the passage of this bill would be reviewed by the TTAB, which is made of a citizen member and also a tow company owner. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And if you'd move up closer so we don't have to spend so much time walking from person to person.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Elizabeth Parker with Trauma and Pepper Strategies, speaking on behalf of Loudoun County. We support the bill. I'm also authorized to share that the City of Falls Church and the City of Alexandria support this legislation as well.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Great.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Mitchell Smiley with the Virginia Municipal League. We support the bill.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, James Hutzler, Virginia Association of Counties. We support the bill.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, Noel Dominguez with Fairfax County. We also support the bill.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone here in opposition of the bill? And if we'd keep it to 3 minutes total.
Madam Chair, Matt Bentke with the Northern Virginia and Richmond Towers Association. The only permit that exists right now for localities is an out-of-county permit. The rest of the state does not have the ability to permit a tower. If you pass this law, you will create a gigantic mess around the state because each locality is going to have different requirements for a permit. That permit could say that you can't tow within 5 or 10 minutes of someone parking illegally. It could have any kind of monitoring or practice attached to it. This is a permit that they could go carte blanche on. If you want to have continued fights about towing in the future, vote for this bill. That's it. We oppose it.
I think Fairfax has a permit process.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, my name is Michael Croak, Shanks Towing South. We oppose this bill.
Thank you so much.
Madam Chair and committee, thank you. Tim from Henry's Record Service. We're already regulated. We're probably one of the most regulated businesses in Virginia. We're regulated by the police department. We're regulated by Consumer Affairs. We're regulated by the Attorney General's office. This is just another regulation to put on. I mean, what they're trying to, these people parked illegally. We take 10, 12 pictures. We call the police. We fax it into the police. We do everything we're supposed to do. We follow every guideline. I'm not speaking on all the towing companies, but I'm speaking on a lot of them. And we don't have these problems. And to add more regulation on just makes it harder and harder on the tow companies, on the business owners, on the person that comes home and just wants to park in their parking spot. Thank you.
If you come closer to the mic, we can get you in.
Madam
Yes,
Chair,
sir.
Al Leach with Al's Towing. I sit on the Arlington County Towing Advisory Board and the Fairfax County Advisory Board for almost 10 years now. The permit system works good in Fairfax County because they work with us. Consumer Affairs works with us. We answer complaints in a timely manner. If not, we refund the citizens' money. Arlington County, in my opinion, I've sit on the board, they have a personal vendetta against one of the towers, and it's hurting all the other towers in Section 8. You know, my lot costs $3 million. You know what? We have to fence it. We're 24 hours. We have to have certain lights. The trucks have permits on it. It's all regulated. And I highly disagree with this bill because, like our lobbyist said, it can go either way. It can really hurt us in business. And the towing committee and me sitting on the board, we work with people monthly to take care of all the complaints. 90,000 tows and 22 complaints. That's pretty good. I don't think anybody else has that ratio of complaints. So, thank you.
Thank you very much, and I'll let you come on and say your piece as well.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll
Give you a
keep
couple
it
extra seconds.
Mike Fernandez with Battlefield Towing, and I oppose this bill. This bill is undefined. I think the confusion is between a permit and a registration. Fairfax County has what's called a registration, which basically the tower is obligated to register with Fairfax County, listing the owner's name, how many trucks they have, the location of the facility, things like that. I oppose this bill. It does not need to be a permit. It just needs to be a registration.
Thank you very much. Are there members of the committee who have questions or comments?
Actually, do.
All righty, Delegate Senator DeStaff, followed by Senator DeStaff, followed by Senator Williams Graves. Sorry.
Madam Chair, Delegate McClure.
As I understand this, so there's a registration in Fairfax, but when I was talking to the Arlington folks, they said they were going to follow what Fairfax does for this. So would it be a friendly amendment, or would you be amenable to changing it from a permit to a registration the way Fairfax has it? And I'm not trying to hurt your bill, I'm not trying to kill your bill. I'm trying to, when I asked the questions prior, it was explained that we're going to do it just like Fairfax does. And Fairfax does it as a registration, as I understand, correct?
Delegate McClure, did you want to
Yes,
respond?
thank you, Madam Chair, and I'll also bring up Arlington County to clarify that point.
Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee, Fairfax County has a permitting system and a registration system. And so they have a permitting system for towers who tow inside the locality and store outside of the locality. What we're asking to do for Planning District 8 is to be able to permit our towers who tow in a locality and store in the same locality, not have a separate registration system and a permit system.
So, Madam Chair, if I could just one quick follow-up.
And if you could please, for the record, state your name.
Oh, I'm sorry. Alana Crennan.
Thank
Arlington
you so
County,
much.
apologies. I didn't speak on this bill.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I have one follow-up, and then I'm going to...
Senator DeSteff.
So, Madam Chair, Alana, if I could, I just want to make sure I understand this properly. So you guys want to permit it for whether you're towing inside or outside, where Fairfax permits it if you're tow inside and store outside. So you don't want to be just like Fairfax. You want to change it differently from what Fairfax is doing, correct?
My understanding, Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee, my understanding is that we want to be able to all have the same permit, whether you tow, whether you store, it's regardless of where you tow and store. So right now, depending on where you store, you either have a registration or a permit. And so we're saying that you should be able to have a permit across the board.
Thank you very much for that. If
Chair.
Noel from Fairfax County might clarify this a little bit more, I think that might help us get to a place where we're all comfortable.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Noel.
Madam Chair, Senator DeSteff. So yes, right now we have a permitting process, as was said. If somebody gets towed in Fairfax County, but the car goes off-site, we do not have a permitting process if it stays within the county. We do have a system in place where the towers have registered, so we do know who is towing within the county. So they are because we're not allowed to permit within the county, but we can at least have them registered, so we're aware.
And again, everybody who comes to the podium needs to introduce themselves every time they come for the audience.
Chairman, Noel Dominguez with Fairfax County.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, Noel, thank you so very much. I really appreciate the clarification.
Thank you. Senator Williams-Graves, did you have a question or a comment?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a question. It is my understanding that the registration does not allow for you to enforce any type of law or code, but the permitting piece would allow you to do that. Is that correct?
So it's go ahead.
Delegate McClure.
Yes, correct.
Speak to me.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At the appropriate time, I would like to make a motion.
All righty. We operate by motion. You have a motion?
Yes, Madam Chair, I move to report the bill, and does it have to go to Finance? And re-refer to Finance.
Thank you. Is there a second? All righty. We have a motion and a second on this bill. It will go to Finance. We could open the rolls.
Ayes 13, noes 1, abstentions 1.
Thank you. Your bill reports 13-1 with 1 abstention. Thank you for your time and appreciate all the people who came and.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee.
Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, if I might, just to remind folks that we passed a bill off of our floor to have this go to the SCC, all the towing issues, to see about their ability to perhaps regulate this statewide, control ranges of rates that people could choose from on localities, things like that, so that we're not back here every year trying to fix the things we thought would fix the things. And so hopefully, I live in hopes, and we'll see what they come up with.
Thank you, Senator Marsden. That's very helpful to remind everyone. I think some people were not aware of that. Can Senator Srinivasan?
Thank you.
Thank you. And I know
Madam
you've
Chair.
got a lot of people here who wanted to testify.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and members of the committee. You can hear me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your patience as we run back and forth. HB 924 is a straightforward transparency and compliance measure that will provide vital information to gig drivers that partner with TNCs, transportation network companies. The bill before you directs TNC companies to provide each partner, each driver, with an individual weekly summary that includes the total fare collected, total amount earned, and the percentage earned by the partner. While the percentage may not seem necessary, given the fact that a partner driver could calculate it for themselves using the data they get from one of the provider now, not asking TNCs to provide it proactively serves as a barrier. And you will hear from some of the drivers. I'm a CPA. I said, yeah, I can do this in 2 seconds. Well, it's just not, not everybody's tuned to do that. So it's a barrier. I would love to highlight that. An annual report is also in the bill to be submitted to the Commissioner of DMV. That's a confidential report that goes only, that's an aggregate report that goes only to the Commissioner of DMV. The bill further requires network companies to disclose basic details on the deactivation process. I would also like to share that I worked with the stakeholders throughout the process of the bill in the House, and we made several changes. And I also appreciate several other stakeholders who worked with me to address their concerns as the bill makes its way through the process, particularly the drivers who came and advocated for this. I would also like to say New Virginia Majority, SCIU, and AFL-CIO, they were very supportive of this concept. Thank you, and I'm here to answer any questions, and thanks for your consideration.
All righty, thank you so much. Does everybody understand the concept of this bill? If there are people in the audience who are in support of, yes, Senator.
Thank you, Madam
Hashmi.
Chair. And I just wanted to speak in support of the bill, if this is appropriate.
Thank you, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just wanted to share with the rest of the committee members that this is a priority bill for the Virginia Asian American Pacific Islander Caucus. We have worked closely with so many individuals who are affected by the current situation. We appreciate New Virginia Majority for bringing it to our attention and having this discussion, and I certainly thank Delegate Srinivasan for carrying the legislation on behalf of our VAPIC caucus.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. If there are people in support, let's do a 3-minute in support and 3-minute in opposition. And if you'd introduce yourself with your name and who you're with, that would be great.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Tram Nguyen with New Virginia Majority. We've been working with drivers, especially in Northern Virginia, for a while, and this is simply a transparency bill. It doesn't change how Uber or Lyft or any of these transportation network companies provide their compensation, but just allowing drivers to get a breakdown of their weekly compensation. We've heard that it's something that's very needed, and we have several drivers here to talk about that.
Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committees. Julia Newton with SEIU, and we support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Looks like we have some of our drivers here with us.
Madam Chairman, I am Nupur Chaudhary, an ACE community organizer through New Virginia Majority and rideshare driver of 8 years. So Rise Today advocate for your support of HB 924. This bill is not just about ensuring fairness. It is about empowering both drivers and passengers with vital information that impacts their livelihoods. And for too long, besides, rideshare drivers have operated in the dark, uncertain about how much passengers are paying their services. Similarly, passengers have been left in the dark about how much of their fare actually raises the drivers who provide them with transportation. The lack of transparency not only undermines trust out, also prepares a system where both parties are left vulnerable in explanation. So we drivers do the majority of the work. We take the majority of the risk. We deserve to know that Uber and Lyft take the majority of the fare. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We've only got 54 seconds left. I think you really described the bill well. If you'd let us know just your name and who you're with, that'd be great.
Good afternoon, everyone in this room. My name is Aide Joya, and I have worked for Uber and Lyft for the last 5 years as a full-time driver. And I'm here today to ask for everybody your support and to ask to approve the bill HB 924. We need this to be approved. A few years ago, we had a full transparency with Uber. After March 2020, zero transparency. We don't have nothing right now. We don't see the complete breakdown of Uber and Lyft, and we had a lot of a couple other companies that also we need this transparency for all the drivers. Thank you.
Thank you. Our time is expired, so if you all would just introduce yourselves and say who you're with. We've heard the testimony. You can say your name and come to the thing, but we're running out of time.
Hi, Madam Chair. My name is Sheikh. I've been Uber driving since 10 years. I was able to see all the payment by the passenger, but now I cannot see anymore.
Thank you.
Now our situation is like this.
Thank you very much. Explaining the transparency issue. I hear you. Thank you, sir.
Madam Chair, my name is Sanjeev Vashisht, and I'm a driver with Uber and Lyft, and I do support this bill.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your brevity.
Hi, Madam Chair. I'm Salim Arazouk, Uber and Lyft driver for the last 5 years.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time. So if committee members understand this is a transparency bill for how much the Uber or Lyft or other rideshare drivers are receiving in comparison to what the ride costs. So this is a transparency bill. Senator Williams-Graves.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd just like to take the opportunity also, I think, to echo the sentiments of Senator Hashmi and thank the patron for taking the time. He caught me on the way out yesterday, and we had a great conversation about the bill. And I think were it not for that conversation, where we had that back and forth exchange, I wouldn't have been in the mindset to support the bill. So thank you. That was a great freshman move.
Thank you. Are there members of the audience who are in opposition to this bill? Okay, I don't see anyone.
Move to report.
Thank you, sir. All right, we have a motion and a second on this bill, and if the clerk will call the roll.
Ayes 11, noes 4.
Delegate, your bill passes 11-4. Thank you all for taking the time to come and testify. I appreciate you all.
Thank you. Madam Chair. Thank you.
Yes. Delegate Munden King, thank you for your patience. And then finally, Delegate Reeser will be after that. Delegate Munden King, tell us about your bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. House Bill 812 is a bill to repeal the sections of the code that authorize the issuance of the special license plates for the Sons of Confederate Veterans and the Virginia Gentlemen. And so this bill will not take away anyone's license plates. Those that were issued under this section will remain valid until their expiration. And this, obviously, we could debate the value of who is being honored, but really this bill is about moving us forward and removing divisive symbols from our state-issued license plates. And happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions of the committee members this moment? This is just to clarify, this is not to add a new license plate. This is to retire a license plate.
Yes, correct.
All righty. Do you have anyone with you who is in support of this bill?
I don't think so.
Okay, I see that Senator McGuire, followed by Senator DeSteff. Senator McGuire, did you have a question or a comment?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I wanted to speak at the perfect time on the bill.
Okay, let's wait and let our public testify. Did you have anybody in favor of your bill? Delegate Munden King, did you have anybody with you who wanted to speak on it? Okay, is there anyone in opposition to the bill? Yes, sir, please come forward.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Charles Haig, I'm a retired state employee, and I live in Henrico County.
There's a familiar saying, a picture is worth 1,000 words. I'll use several license plates, some of which are rarely seen, to make my points. The first license plate is a standard issue license plate by DMV. It's an old one, so it doesn't have Virginia's for Lovers at the bottoms, but this is a standard issue license plate. The next license plate I'm going to show you is a Sons of Confederate Veterans license plate, and I hope you notice the similarities. If you were driving your car, could you tell the difference? Freedom exists because we allow the views of others, even though we may disagree. Why deny freedom to the 547 Sons of Confederate Veterans who had this plate? That fraternal organization has evolved to become a service to the community, including the restoration of abandoned cemeteries and other good works. And why deny to those of us who admire Robert E. Lee, why deny our ability to have that? And I take this sort of personally because I actually have this plate on my car. And if you vote in favor of this bill, I view it as you're taking away a small part of my freedom. And there are 762 individuals who have that plate. And of the 6.2 million licensed drivers with 8.5 million registered vehicles, the probability of seeing a Sons of Confederate Veterans license plate is 6 in 100,000. And the probability of seeing a Lee plate is much greater. It's 2 in 10,000. And to put that into perspective, the chance of being struck by lightning during your lifetime is 1 in 15,300. If this bill becomes law, then all organizations among the 200 plus specialty license plates should be banned. But that suppresses freedom because we are not allowing the views of others. The bill as presented is a statement of state government, but the individual is the one who's making that statement. The statement, Virginia is for Lovers, is a statement of state government appearing on standard license plates issues that I mentioned. What course do I have if I disagree with that? And I genuinely appreciate the feelings expressed in support of this bill, but believe it needs further consideration. As originally written, the bill would have banned the Washington and Lee specialty plate. Are there other issues or unintended consequences that should be examined? I ask you to lay this bill on the table until further research of the issues is completed. Freedom exists because we allow the views of others even though we may disagree. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. I appreciate it. Senator DeSteff, did you have a question or a comment?
Madam Chair, I'm sorry. The gentleman answered my question. When it's appropriate, I'd like to speak to the bill.
All righty.
And make a motion.
Okay. I think that Senator Hashmi is next in line. Senator Hashmi, question?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Question for the patron. What is the process by which these specialty license plates are approved by the DMV? If you could speak to that.
Senator Delegate Mundian King.
No, I have not been elevated to this great chamber. Madam Chair, I would say that I believe the process is that we determine at this level what are the standards. So you can't have anything obscene on your license plate. And so there's a process for approving those, which is why you don't see ones that like celebrate Hitler or any other thing that might be offensive.
Thank you. Other questions? Senator McGuire, did you want to?
Yes. Please.
Thank you, Senator McGuire.
Okay, Madam Chair, members of the committee, there are over 300 different license plate styles. I mean, they're covering universities, some universities that aren't even in the state of Virginia. And, I understand that our history of the United States is not perfect. We've advanced quite a bit. And if we erase our history, we forget who we are and where we come from. And singling out Robert E. Lee is especially egregious. He was a statesman, and I can see where it might be controversial with some, but I would say those that consider him a controversial man ought to study history and look at what part he played in Reconstruction and reuniting our country after the war. And Planned Parenthood might not upset some people in this room, but it probably upsets a lot of people in this room. And I think singling out historic figures is the wrong way to go. And I would ask us to vote no on this legislation.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Delegate Munden King.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Really didn't want to go here, but Robert E. Lee was a brutal slave master who whipped and beat his slaves so bad and then poured salt water in their wounds. Unlike some great founders of this country who sadly participated in slavery, he turned his back on this country. He should no more be honored than those who participated in January 6th or any other insurrection, because that's who he truly is. And when we continue this narrative, this false narrative, we hurt people because they're ignorant and they don't know our true history. There are people who should be celebrated. And let me just say this. I get photos all the time in my community from older Black Americans who are so hurt. Look what I saw in the parking lot. Why are people still doing this? So there are people whose freedoms were denied, who were still traumatized by sons and daughters of the Confederacy who put up statues to remind them of how they were treated. This is the misinformation that continues when we use state funds to perpetuate a myth.
Thank you very much. Senator McGuire, seems you have another comment. Well, actually, we're not going to do a back and forth. If you have something specific about whether or not we, I don't think it's helpful for us to get into a squabble over this. Agreed. You have the right to vote the way you're going to vote. If you want to make a comment, you are welcome to do that, but we're not going to engage in you and the delegate back and forth.
I'll just speak for Bill.
Thank you.
I think that it's Marxist policy to erase history. We all have different opinions. Our country has advanced. And again, I would just repeat, I hope we all vote no on this bill.
Thank you very much, Delegate Senator Rome.
Madam Chair, I have a motion. I'd like to speak to the motion.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I'd like to report the bill and speaking to that motion.
Please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, in my district, where I represent the battlefield of the first Battle of Manassas and then the second Battle of Manassas, and that second one tends to be overlooked in history, and yet that second one was so bloody that the state of New York sent us monuments about 1906 or so that are located on the south side of Route 29. They're dedicated to the Zouaves. They're dedicated to the Union soldiers who fought to preserve our country and were massacred. And I mean bloody massacred in the Second Battle of Manassas. If we are going to have monuments on whether it's license plates, whether it's anywhere else in our Commonwealth, it should be to the people who did everything and they gave everything to preserve our Union at all cost, including their lives. And when you walk through Second Manassas, when you really take in the totality of what happened there and the bloodshed that happened there, if it wasn't for that last stand that those guys from New York had in that time, it's very possible that the Army of Potomac's general would have been caught as he was retreating backward. And they held the line as long as they could to make sure that the Union could stand. And after that, that battle directly preceded the Battle of Antietam. And it was, even though a stalemate at the time, the fact that the Confederates withdrew back over the bridge into Virginia gave Lincoln the cause that he needed for the Emancipation Proclamation to follow. Under no circumstance should we ever celebrate the person who led to the death of so many thousands of Union soldiers in my district, in my Manassas, that I have been proud to call my lifelong home. And I will do everything possible to promote and celebrate those Union soldiers who did everything that they could to keep our country. So with that, I renew my motion.
Thank you. Before we go, there was some discussion on the motion. I know that Senator DeSteff had another remark he wanted to make, and I have one to follow that.
I'm going to be very quick and very respectful. I don't agree in everything on every license plate. I don't agree with people who burn our flag. I don't agree with people who burn any flag. But I fought in wars overseas to protect our ability to protest, our right to be able to burn that flag. I may not agree with it, but I fought in wars overseas to protect our ability to do so. We have the First Amendment, freedom of speech, for that reason, and I fought for that while I was overseas and saw things I truly disagreed with that were happening in the United States. I fought for the ability for people to express those on college campuses across the country. I don't have to agree with it, but I will tell you that I fought for our right to express our opinions. And I don't agree with everything on license plates. I don't agree with everything on signs. I don't agree with everything I see in the press. But I'll tell you, I fought for our opportunity to be able to express our opinions and the freedom of speech to do so. If somebody burns a flag, I have a very deep problem with that. But it's not illegal to burn a flag. I fought in wars overseas to protect our abilities to do that, to protect our abilities to different religions. I may agree or disagree, but I fought for our rights to be able to express our opinions. So I'll be voting no on this because it's not whether I agree with this or agree with that. I fought for our ability to stand up and truly express our opinions without it being choked out, without it being subdued. So people everywhere in the United States have the ability to express what's on their mind everywhere. So that's why I'll be voting no on this.
Thank you, Senator DeStaff. And Senator Marsden, when you are finished, I have a comment to make as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You can have a Robert E. Lee bumper sticker. You can do what you want in terms of articles that you want to write and positions you want to take, but I just don't think the Commonwealth of Virginia should be involved in it. And I would like to second the motion and allow you to have your discussion.
Thank you so much. We have a motion and a second, and I will just take a moment to say, I come from people who were Confederate soldiers. I am from Alabama and Arkansas, and my high school, Jefferson Davis High School in Montgomery, Alabama, they chose to change the name of that school in Alabama because it was the leader of the Confederacy. That was, as you rightly, I believe, said, they were trying to overthrow the federal government and the Union. And as Senator Marsden just said, we have our freedom of speech, but does that mean that the Commonwealth should be participating in that? I happen to agree with you. And I want to thank you for bringing this forward, but I also want to thank everybody on this panel for being thoughtful and considerate and respectful with one another. We can be disagreeing without being disagreeable. And I just appreciate everybody here today. And I'm glad that we can have these debates without screaming at each other. So with that, we have a motion and a second. If we could call the roll.
Ayes 8, no 6.
Thank you, Delegate. Your bill passes 8-6. And finally, after waiting for a long time, we have Delegate Reeser. Thank you, Delegate Reeser. Can you tell us about your bill?
Thank you, Madam
Appreciate
Chair,
your patience.
members of the committee. I have a bill that has a small fix to a bill that passed in 2022, carried by Delegate Bennett Parker and signed into law by Governor Youngkin. My bill would shorten the language that is required on signs that indicate a parking space is reserved for a charging plug-in electric vehicle by just simply removing the dollar amount of the fine so that if that amount changes from time to time, the signs do not have to be replaced, which comes at a cost to shopping center owners and small business owners.
Great. Do you have anybody here who wanted to speak on the bill?
I do.
Please bring her up and introduce yourself. Tell us who you're with.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Blair St. Ledger Olson. I'm actually representing the stakeholders today who worked on the original 2022 legislation, just to reinforce that this is a technical fix simply to make this piece of legislation more future-proofed for any changes we might make moving forward.
All righty, thank you very much. Anybody in opposition to the bill? Righty.
Chair.
Yes,
I have a question.
Senator Hackworth. Question?
So do I understand correctly that in these parking spaces, because I think I actually voted for this when it come through, but do I understand that it removes the requirement of a sign that says there'll be a penalty?
Madam Chair, Senator Hackworth, it would just remove the requirement for the dollar amount to be on the sign.
Thank you.
Okay, follow up.
You have another question? Yes, sir.
So how would they know what that fine would be?
Thank you, Delegate Reeser.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senator Hackworth, like other signs that prohibit parking between certain times of day, or if it's a loading zone that do not have the amount of the fine on the face of the sign, this sign would, signs that meet this new requirement would also not have the amount of the fine. They would simply notify the person who's parking in the spot that you must have a charging plug-in vehicle to be in that spot.
Thank you.
And Madam Chair,
Delegate Senator Hackworth.
a question maybe for staff. So is there a cap by code what that can be charged?
It is.
I do.
Delegate Reeser, you know the
Thank
answer
you,
to
Madam
that?
Chair. Yes, Senator, the cap is $25.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Are there other questions? Do we have a motion?
Move to report.
Is there a second? All righty, we have a motion and a second. If we could open the rolls.
Ayes 9, noes 5.
Delegate Reeser, your bill passes 9-5. Thank you so
Madam
much.
Chair, members of the committee.
Seeing that we have no more business, the committee will rise.
The Senate of Virginia, Richmond, Virginia.